Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of the HEMA Pandemic Livestream series. Last week we worked on fighting with the spear in high guard. Today we're going to continue with the theme of fighting with the spear, but we're going to be fighting from the low guard today. However, we did get a request to do some saber work. So we are going to do saber work on the HEMA Pandemic Livestream next week on Saturday. And we are going to be working primarily from this manuscript from John Taylor, 1802. And we're going to be looking at some of the guards and the cuts and the way he suggests that we use the saber. A thing to remember about John Taylor and his saber manuscript is that this is written in England during the Napoleonic era. So 1802, they're just fresh out of the American Civil War. They're engaged in the war with France. So the sword we're looking at, the saber we're looking at, is the heavy, or the light cavalry saber, 1796 pattern. So it's not a fencing saber like we would see today or a dueling saber. This is definitely a heavy saber meant for warfare. So we'll be talking about that. Today, however, we are working on spear work. And as we had said last week, the grip for our spear in the Italian tradition is I want the cue, the back end of my spear, to be about the same length as my forearm. I want my lead hand to be about the same length as my forearm above. So I get here. So I'm not fighting in a half spear, and I'm not fighting like we see on movies where we're doing this kind of thing. It's not that kind of fight. So we're going to be having this grip. And the more you get used to it, the more you'll be able to fall right pretty much into the grip without having to think about it. That means that as I'm fighting and I'm moving, I can shift my grip and then go right back to pretty much where I need to be and not leave too much space between my hands, because as soon as I start doing that, my fingers are in danger. So if I'm going to be fighting more with this extended grip, I'm probably going to want gauntlets on my hand. You'll notice between John and myself, I don't wear gloves when I fight with spear. I don't like the feel of it catching on my spear. I want to have quicker transitions and movement on my grip, but that's my personal choice. That being said, if I was going in to fight for my life or in war, I'd probably want gauntlets on my hand just because I need to protect my fingers. When we were working in our last class, we took the high guard. So I'm protecting my upper body, and my lower body is protected by my spearhead. This is, because of the head, can you grab the poleaxe?
Yes, sir.
Because of the head, it's going to be significantly different than what I'm going to be finding with just a quarterstaff or with a poleaxe. It's going to manipulate and move the balance point of my weapon around, having the spearhead on the 7-foot shaft, as opposed to a poleaxe, which there were different heights. But from everything I've read and been able to see, they're really only about this long. So they're not way up here like a halberd. This is an in-close personal fighting tool, and this one has all the weight up here. But what makes it different than the spear is the back spike. So I don't have the back spike to help counterbalance my axe head. And what's interesting with this is when we look at movies and TV and fantasy things, they talk about battle axes, and they have this big double-headed axe that they're using in the fight. In England, at the end of the 16th century, this is a battle axe. versus a hand axe versus a wood axe. This is a battle axe meant for going into battle. We don't have the counterbalance of the back spike. So with our spear, we're going to need to take that into consideration as we're moving it around. Today, we're going to be starting in low guard, which has my spearhead out and my Q down. So my Q is low, and I'm protecting my upper body. And it goes backwards to what it seems like it should be. It seems like this should be low guard, and this should be high guard. I don't know why they named it that way. My guess, and that's the best I can give you, is in reference to the back of the spear and where my hands are. Here my hands are low, here my hands are high. Therefore I'm in high guard or I'm in low guard. And they are not referring to the head of the spear. And again, that's the best explanation I can give you because I honestly don't know. It's not the kind of thing they wrote down. When we're using the spear in low guard, so go into low guard for me, please. Our natural action is just thrusting, and this is where we get the pull cue action again. I have more control doing the pull cue here than I do from up high, again, because of the weight. And when I'm gripping, go and relax. When I'm gripping my spear, I'm not holding my spear, and you can see the tenseness in my forearm. I'm more just letting it rest on my fingers until I need to make contact with something. That's when I grab. And we can get these motions if I'm relaxed. One of the things I can do is if I start in low guard, not yet. If I start in low guard, facing my opponent, I can go up into, as Fiore says, window guard, high guard, or I can use this action into high guard on the other side. And from there, I'm doing all my transfers. What I want to work on today is from low guard, we're going to initiate an action. And we're going to start off with a straight thrust at my target, which is going to be the center of his compass bloom with a pull cue. But I know that's going to be countered. This is my initial action. If I can go at his chest or I can go at his face, right now I'm uncomfortable thrusting at his face without protection. And if I pop him in the head wearing a mask, the mask isn't going to do a whole lot of good. So I'm going to go for his chest for safety. So you know why I'm going for his chest. So from here, I want you to also notice my hands are not against my body. So I'm not standing here like this. I'm standing here like this, and you can see how that pushes my hands away. Go into low guard, please. So as I'm in low guard, I want to be on this side. I'm going to step to my right with a thrust at his chest. And I'm going over his arm into his body. So once again, that's my goal. However, I know he's not an idiot. So he's just going to push his cue out and move his point. And now he's set up for that big cut like we were talking about last week. Or he could thrust from there, but he's lined up for a cut. So I expect him not to be an idiot. If he's an idiot, I'll stab him in the chest or the face. But I know I'm never going to a fight expecting my opponent to be stupid. And that's an important rule to take in. Don't give him too much power, too much mental acuity. But don't expect him to be an idiot either. So we start on guard. I step out and I come forward, and then I go to high guard. Bring it back to low guard, and now I'm inside his weapon and defended. Let's do that again, please. Ready? Ready. And that just brings my point right back up into play. What I want to focus on, let's move over here. So I want to be here, and I'll put you right there. Okay? So here's the action. I'm going to win this one. I'm going to step to the side, and I'm going to thrust to the body. As he sees that coming in, let's go real slow. I drop my point down, not by putting my point down, because if I just put my point down, look what that does to my shoulders and my backhand. You break somebody's structure by manipulating their shoulder. If I do this, I broke my structure for my opponent. So instead, as I come in, I lift my cue up. And I don't lift it up high. Then I put my cue down. And so even if he comes back through, I'm already in range to make my strike. Being able to manipulate the cue of your spear or your poleaxe is what's going to move the point around. We see this exact same art in half sorting. The best way to describe what we're doing is, imagine you're kayaking, and I'm sitting in a kayak with my paddle. If I put my paddle in the water and I try to yank it back, I'm putting all that stress on my shoulder. And that's how I can hurt myself, tear my rotator cuff, pull a muscle. I might be able to do it for the first hour if I'm in really good shape. That's a long time. Let's even say 10 minutes. 10 minutes I can do that. But then I've worn out all my muscles, and now when I try it again, I no longer am able to tense up and protect my joints or my rotator cuff, and that's where I tear it. So when we go kayaking, I don't push my paddle forward, dip it in the water, and pull. Instead, I pull my other paddle back, lift my paddle up, and then push it forward. Lift this paddle up, that puts the other paddle in the water, and then I push it forward. And that means I can get my core into my paddling. That's also how I get my core into the use of half sorting or my spear. Let's do that again right here.
Okay.
I'll do it once so you can see the handwork, then we'll move back so you can see both of us. I thrust, lift that up, put that down, and continue my thrust. I am not moving so close that I'm able to hit him without shifting my grip. I'm stepping out and then just continuing my thrust because this movement is going to be faster than the return of his point. And a spearhead to the face will distract them from their intention of hitting you. I will guarantee you that. Let's do it over here.
Yes, sir.
We'll do it nice and slow. So right now we're both jockeying for position. If he thrusts at me, I can do that. If I thrust at him, he can do that. Easy to do. We can also disengage because we're looking for that opening. We've already done all this stuff. So as I come through, I want to go slower. I begin my action. I have not done my pull cue yet because I'm extending my lead hand at my target with the movement of my lead foot. As soon as I feel any action through his spear, I lift up my cue. I drop my cue down as I'm bringing my back foot forward. We'll go to that side. Mm-hmm. And then thrust. And then retract. And move back. Let's do that again. And that, I'm going to put it against your cheek, okay, is how deep I'm putting it into his face. If he has a closed face helmet, I'll go for the throat. If he's in armor and I can't get the throat, I might go for his shoulder. The nice thing about the way we're doing this, let's do it again. I begin my action. I step out. I fill that. I drop my point down as I'm coming forward. Now, instead of going straight down to bring my point in line with his face, I bring my cue down and in, lining up my spearhead with his shoulder. So let's do that again. I'm going to go for the shoulder.
Okay.
I begin, I step out, and I can put it right into his armpit. Let's do it here. I'm going to be slightly out of range this time.
Okay.
Okay, ready?
Ready.
Cut back at me.
Okay.
Doesn't need to be fast, but cut back at me. Again, your opponent's not an idiot. If you're not defending against a counteraction, you're not doing the full training. I begin. Oh, look, he pushed me a little bit off. So now instead of aiming at his shoulder, he pushed me into his throat. I'm okay with that. One of the things that I train my people in all the time, never target a single target. Always line up your targets. If I miss this one because he defended, there's another one behind it that I can attack. And that's a good thing to train yourself to, so there's always something you can aim for. Let's do that again.
Mm-hmm.
Ready?
Ready.
I can put it in here. But this time, he doesn't cut straight back at my face. He's up and he cuts down at my head. And you're going to win this one, so
Got it.
be kind. So I come through, I do everything right, and now he's able to hit me in the head. I just like that. So, luckily, I know window guard. So we start here, I come through, he pushes that down, and I can push it offline and still hit him in the same target. Let's do that again. Keep going. This is where the importance of geometry and angle comes into play. The first thought when you see an action like this is, that's stupid. He's going to take your fingers. And yes, it looks like he's going to take my fingers. But I'm going to show you why he's not. Not without being able to redirect and manipulate his strike, which I've not given him time to do. So you're going to do it again, but I need you to cut right through.
Yes, sir.
Not fast, but cut right through. This goes back to always train legitimately. Don't train falsely. So I'm on guard. I begin my action, I come through, I drop it up. You see how that scooted it out? Because I've got this angle here. If I was here, he would slide right down the shaft of my spear into my fingers. But because I'm at this angle, he hits my spear and scoots out. Let's do it at this angle right here.
Right about here?
Yeah, that should be good.
All right.
Ready?
Ready.
Okay. So as I come through, go ahead and do it again. Ready?
Ready.
There's where so as I'm here and I come down, instead of just lifting up, I'm actually lifting up and giving it a little bit of a circle. And I'm doing that with the Q. Let's go and do it again. And I don't need to hit it hard. Just a little tap sets it aside. We see the same truth in punches. Can you punch me?
Yes, sir.
No, I got this.
Okay.
So I'm not going to move. So there's the punch coming through. How much does it take to set it aside? Go and do it again. It doesn't take a lot. Now, I got clipped on the ear. Why did I get clipped on the ear?
Because you didn't move.
I didn't use my feet. An important thing to remember in every system you do, your hands, your weapon, whatever is up here is only half of your defense. The other half of your defense is your feet. If I don't use my feet, I'm only incorporating half of my defense, and I might be able to defend myself with half of my defense, but why risk it? And I start this drill off with that same action. Let's do it again. I'm not going to do anything. You're just going to hit me.
Okay.
All right, so let's start off. So we're here, and I launch my action, and I want you to just go forward as well.
Okay.
No, forward.
Okay.
Do you see how he's here? He's no longer at this side where he was, but he can't do that because he's in danger. And this is where we both die. You can only use rhinoceros as your spirit animal if you're so heavily engaged in armor that nothing will get through it. If you're lightly armored against a sharp spear, would you do that?
No, sir.
And if you did, no more than once. So let's do it again. This time, same thing. Ready?
Okay. Ready.
I didn't do what I wanted to do last time. So ready?
Ready.
I step forward, he steps forward, we both die. He steps forward, and I move off. Now, why do you think, John, that your point went here this time and here last time?
Position of my foot.
Nope, had nothing to do with you.
Ah.
And this is where it gets tricky. Let's go back to it again. When I went last time, I took my spear with me. And I guided his point. Watch this. I didn't maintain contact and push his spearhead into a new line. I moved my body around my weapon, as opposed to taking my weapon with my body or moving my weapon around my body. And so, if I step out and I take his spear, that's going to be very hard to get around. But if I step out and I leave my spear where it is, I have much more space to work in. And it's important to understand that he's not just going to miss me, right?
Yeah.
You're not just going to miss me.
I'm going to try and track you there.
Let's do that. Nice and slow. No, I launch the attack.
Okay.
It's even without doing anything besides my feet. Let's switch sides. The movement, his spear point, is a threat to me, but not a major threat to me. Let's do it again. Same thing. Track me. But you don't know what I'm doing.
Got it.
Look how I'm on his arm. Now, my bicep is in danger, and the edge of my chest is in danger. So this is not a good thing to do. What I wanted you to see is that without giving him the feedback of pushing his weapon out of the way, I can control how much body target he has in front of him. But now, because I've worked on my cue, I can take that to the next level. Let's do that again. Oh, look at that. And it just falls into place. Because now he's actually trying to hit me. And how hard is that going to be to bring your weapon back into play?
I'm not going to be able to get it back and play real easy.
And I'm working at a distance where I need to pull cue in order to hit him. And the reason I need to be at that distance is because the only way he can hit me is to do the same thing. But you cannot defend yourself when you've pull cued your spear. You don't have the leverage down here to easily do it. Not in the European spear, because if I'm using oak, or these are made of ash, and then you've got the 1.5 pound head on top, even a 1 pound head, it's too much weight, too much leverage. I can't control it that way. So we start in here. I go out, drop it down. I'm now in low guard again and straight in. This time, when you cover, really pull it back, because you're really defending yourself. No, defend yourself.
Oh, defend. Okay.
Now you're defending against my spear.
Got it.
If I stab him and I put it right through his body, what are the chances of him coming back down and hitting me? Because it's already in motion. Yes, he's already dead. But just because he's dead Just because he's dead here doesn't mean he's dead here. And dead here he's not done yet. His body's still going. Especially if he's already in motion. So I need to position my weapon in such a way that I can cover against the twitches and the motion that he's already in. And that's where I roll up into window guard. And I can stick them. Let's go again slow. I'm going to try to make contact, but let's go slow.
Got it.
So I come through. And I can just stick it right through. And then I actually didn't trust myself. Let me do it one more time.
Sure.
Hold on. The reason I didn't trust myself, I want to get this out. I did my action. I came through, and I stepped, and then I stayed here, and then I stepped forward and stabbed, which is not what we're talking about. I broke my own drill because I didn't trust myself. So I want to do this again so I do it correctly. Remember, practice makes permanent. Perfect practice makes perfect. You're not just doing an action. You're doing an action correctly. Let's do that again. Ready?
Ready.
Did it again. Boom. Let's do it again. Now, don't move.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and lift your point back up and cut through just like that without moving your hands.
Okay.
So cut through, but don't bring your hands together. Look at all that space between us. Go ahead and lift it up to my chest. Turn it flat. Flat. Look at all this space between us. Where as soon as I pull Q, I'm in the same space. Except that when he's coming back down, go back up like you're up. My arm is protected by my spearhead, my spear shaft. So when I come forward, go ahead. I can get that out there. If I end up on the inside of his spear, let's do it again, the whole thing.
Okay.
And I come up here, I can do the same thing, and now I still got a target. And this is where we get to the feeling of, no, not the feeling. This is where we get to the action of feeling where our opponent's weapon is going and redirecting it. Let's do it again. But don't go so wide.
Okay.
And this is where we get more into like fencing with rapiers or side swords. Let's do that again. I launch, I go underneath, but he's coming straight back at me. So I set that aside, and then I can just push through. If he comes at me and I'm not quite fast enough, so I haven't got my point back up, do it again. I'll take it that way. Now I'm going to attack his arm with a cut. And imagine, hold up your spear, I'm going to hit your spear. So there's his arm. I want to go on this side.
Okay.
There's his arm. And I've defended myself here. What'd you feel?
A lot of shock back into the haft here.
And this goes back into the way I use my Q. Go back up. Now I'm going to use my lead hand. I've defended myself here. See how much his point moved? I lift up my hand, and then I use my right hand to strike him with. I use my Q hand. Then I pull my Q hand up. Significantly more force is transferred from my weapon to my target if I use my Q. Now imagine that instead of being the haft of his spear, that's his forearm. An important thing to remember in this fight, I'm not necessarily trying to cut his hand off. I'm not necessarily trying to cleave him in twain. I just like being able to say that in a conversation. But if I do that cut and I break his arm, he's no longer fighting. He is no longer a threat to me. Now I can deal with other things that I have to deal with and come back to him. If this is where I want to capture him, I can do that. Or I can let my guys deal with him. Or I can use this as an opportunity just to escape. Whether I'm working with a spearhead, a staff, or another weapon. And it all works regardless. Would you be okay if I did this with the poleaxe?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
I wanted to ask if I could do it with the poleaxe because I will never assume control of my partner's safety. So everything that I do is always with his permission. So if we start in this same action, now I have a significantly shorter. So when I come forward, I can still drop it down. Now, because of the extra weight, go ahead and hit me. And I've got the axe. Now I can really take his fingers. Now, let's do it again. So, where's he going? What's he going to do now? He's going to hit, protect himself, right? No, protect yourself. That's why I go down low and I hit him in another place. The groin, the thigh, the stomach. My principles and my concepts, thank you very much.
You're very welcome, sir.
My principles, my concepts, my actions don't change much other than to reflect the tool I'm using. But if I do my training and I follow my training, they will work with multiple tools. Let me run through this action one more time. First option is all he does is defend, and I pull Q. Second option, I do the same action, but he defends and then cuts back at my body. And I can still get that into his body. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah.
Third option, I do that, but I don't get back up in time to be on the inside of his weapon. I'm still on the outside. So I'm still on this side. So I launch my action, then I set it aside there and cut his arm. Fourth option, I do everything the same, but now I'm on this side, but I'm too slow for whatever reason. So I come through and then pull Q. And I just puts it in. Let's switch sides, please. First option, I just do my action, and he defends, and I can pull Q into his armpit. Second option, he does his defense, but he cuts back down at my head, and I pull Q. Third option, I do that again, but I'm a little bit late, and I cut his arm. Fourth option, I get to the other side, but I'm not in a place to defend myself before his blow gets to me. Then I stab him. Those are the four actions from low guard with a spear that I want you to practice and I want you to look at, and I want you to focus on using the cue of the spear. You'll notice when I'm doing these, my lead hand is not moving much. It's moving up and down a little bit, but I'm not doing the actions with my elbow. That is the biggest challenge, the biggest hurdle for people to go over, to get over when they start with the spear, is not to let their arm bend. You'll notice my arm stays out straight. So I step out, my arm is still straight. Watch what happens if I bend my arm when I do this. Can we do it again? Ready?
Ready.
Oh, I'm too late. Did you see that? I was too late. You saw that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Let's do it again. I'm going to bend my arm, and not a lot. He just cuts right through it. Same thing. Now this time I don't bend my arm. I'm already there. If you bend your arm, you pull your point away from your opponent, you have removed the threat. And if I'm facing, just stay there. If I'm facing my opponent like this with a spear in his face, how do you feel about walking straight forward?
It's a really bad idea for me to walk forward.
What about now?
Oh, I'd love to do that.
Now we can do it.
Yeah.
Thank you for your help.
You're very welcome.
So thank you for joining us, for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. Next week, we are going to be looking at Saber work from John Taylor, 1802. John, thank you very much for your help.
My pleasure as always.
If you have questions about what we did, please put it in the comments, and I will respond to those. For now, let's go and salute out. Thank you for being with us. Stay safe. Wear your mask. We're almost through this, but we won't get through it if we're not able to keep from infecting others. Stay sane. Being removed from other people is very difficult. And until we're able to get together and train in purpose, in person, we'll see you on the other side. Thanks, guys. Boom.
Pleasure as always, folks. Thank you, sir.